Goes. We're starting it up here. Are we though? Hold on. Yep,
Yeah,
we're
thanks
good.
for your patience.
Yes, you're very patient people, and we love you for all the reasons that we love you. Starting the show in 3, 2, 1. Whoops, 1. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Core. This is Core, here to talk about the video games and the world of it. I'm Scott Johnson with Bo Schwartz and John Jagger, and we're back after a week of pondering all things video games. Not true. Actually, we spent a lot of time playing. I played more Heroes in the last week than I played in a while, and I hate to keep blaming it on that 10% speed boost, but I think there's something to it. We'll talk about it later, because we'll talk about what we're playing and why we're playing what we're playing, but for some reason, man, hooks back into me. Bo said it yesterday. I was playing a game with him. He says, "Oh, it's got its how'd you say it? It's got its claw. It has its wiener in your orifice again, does it?" Is that what you said?
Verbatim.
Okay.
You nailed it.
That
sounds like
about right.
Bo.
Yeah,
Sounds like a thing Bo would say.
That's something Bo would say for sure.
Which orifice? You'll have to guess.
My
That's
ear.
for patrons only.
It's for my ear. It's my ear.
Yeah.
Oh, I
but,
shouldn't say.
No, the game's good.
Yeah,
it's just comfortable to be back in. I don't know. It's like if you don't take a bath for a couple months and you hop into the bath and it just feels good.
Yeah, I think that's it. Wait, do you do that often? Do you not take a bath for a couple of months and then get in?
No.
Okay.
Well, you mean like you're supplementing it with a shower, right? Or are we just talking about no
bathing.
Yeah, that's it. That's
cleaning?
What John said.
I mean, I went 2 days without.
I'll go with that.
I went 2 days without a shower this week, which is unusual for me.
Have you ever done any like bush stuff?
Excuse me?
Well, like for example, my dad and a bunch of his friends and some people my age, like cousins and things like that, and kids of other people, all men went to the forest on a fishing trip, and we were on an island for 9 days.
Is this a made-up story?
No, this is
There's
real.
nothing about the story that seems like stream of consciousness children's story. And Santa was there, and we got attacked by monkeys.
So we were on the island, and it was a fishing trip, and we ate what we caught. We slept in tents, and I maybe bathed once in the lake the whole weekend.
Oh yeah, that
Let
I've
me
done.
tell you,
Okay, yeah.
my butt was dirty. Let me tell you, that lake really suffered.
Yeah,
But the toxic waste spill in the back corner of the island.
sure.
But when you're roughing it, you don't take a shower for a while. You're full of sweat. The sun's bearing down on you. You're just eating fish, and well, they're all beer drinkers. I was reading my. I think I brought this Harold Pinter play to read, and The Uses of Enchantment by Bruno Bettelheim.
Oh my gosh!
Because I'm the black sheep of the family that likes to read books and go to university.
Island reading.
Yeah.
But anyways, you don't wash that much. So when you do take a shower or bath, even in the lake, you're like, oh man, I feel amazing.
So wait, did you call it bush in it?
I meant more roughing it. Like if you just spend time in the bush.
Okay. Yeah. No, that's like if you go camping for a week. I've done that. I've gone like 8 days without a proper shower or bath.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It comes up if you go into the outdoors. You don't take a shower when you're out there.
Right, and you're right. When you get back and you take one, your first one back, it's freaking glorious. Yeah. It's the greatest thing you've ever done.
Smell amazing. You get all that forest smell off you.
Yep.
Yeah, it's perfect.
All the smoke out of your hair. All that
yes,
stuff.
You smell like the bonfire.
Yep.
Absolutely. Yeah. All your clothes smell like bonfire. Once they come out of the wash, they're clean. So like after all that bad feeling with Heroes, just the sour, no, what did we call it? Milky beans.
The milky beans. No, what did we
creamy
call
beans.
it? Creamy beans.
Creamy beans. Yeah. So I've had a lot of creamy beans about Heroes of the Storm.
Mm-hmm.
With that much time away, I just kind of been playing it and not thinking about any of the stuff surrounding it. And I just still enjoy the game more than other games.
Yeah, on the level that game is at, it's, I kind of wish I was a player in a vacuum and I wasn't concerned with the broader drama around, frankly, Blizzard in general, not just the Heroes side of it.
Right.
And if I was away from all of that, I would just have this rad MOBA I preferred over others, and I'd be playing it all the time. And I think maybe enough time has passed where I'm kind of cool doing that. But part of what's helped is I like things they've been doing to it lately. I like that they're a little bit how do I put this? It's a little more fluid with the kinds of updates we're getting. This 10% speed increase was just this shotgun blast, and pick up the pieces later, but let's see how this feels kind of approach, and we don't have to worry about the pros of the HTC. Let's just do it. I think that's cool in its own right, and I actually think it feels good. And also, quick match queues are nothing. It's like 20 seconds, and you're in a match. It's ridiculous. So I'm having a really good time in there, and I played a lot this week, and it felt right and good. So I'm going to announce right here, the show is converting back to... I'm just kidding, it's not. We're not doing that. We're not doing that.
If there's a little more to talk about week in and week out,
I mean, maybe.
Give it a few more weeks. I'm like, I do miss celebrating that game.
Well, yeah, because it's great.
A lot of stuff that goes with it.
I played a bunch of freaking... what did I play? I played League and I played Dota 2 during the week. Did I tell you guys about that? I don't know if I did.
I saw a tweet.
You told us you were getting into it, but just not. I mean,
you did mention it, yeah, but we didn't
stick.
Yeah, it didn't stick at all because I mean, I appreciate those games for what they are, but I didn't stick with them because I played them both, and I did it because I was like, well, if I'm having such a out with my favorite MOBA, let's just go see what we have to settle for. What are the two monstrous ones in particular? What's the best of those two? So that I can maybe I'll settle into one of those, and then I'll come calling to all my friends and try to talk them into playing one of them with me, because I missed that. Even though we still played here and there, I still missed it. And I just don't like those games. I tried. I gave it a whole bunch of games. I'm way better in them than I used to be. I think playing in Heroes, taught me a lot about just how to play a MOBA. But the minute I went, oh, yeah, last hit, a little piece of me died. And I went, oh, yeah, freaking shop items, a little piece of me died.
What'd you think of the courier? Because that's what scared me off of Dota 2.
I don't remember. Who's the courier in there?
There's no courier in League, I don't think.
No, there's not. But what is it in Dota 2? I forget what it is.
It's a little thing you can send to the shop. Like everybody can control it. So if you're doing stuff with it, it's another way to bug other people, I guess.
Right. That's true. That's in there,
it's
but I never
point
messed
of
with
contention. It's another reason to get yelled at.
Plus, there's a secret.
When I realized that, I was like, I'm out of here. I don't want this.
There's also a secret shop someplace. I don't know where that is. I don't get that.
In the jungle.
I guess it's jungling somewhere to get the secret shop. Anyway, people who play those games are hearing this going, well, duh, Scott, that's the point. This is the strategy, whatever. I get it. But what I love about Heroes and was reminded about Heroes is they came in and addressed all the things I find tedious, frustrating, and hard. And they removed those or supplanted them with something better. I think talents are better. I think team leveling is better. I think last hit shouldn't matter. I think that variation in map and objectives is better. Like, it's just a better game. It's a refinement of why these games are fun in the first place. And I just couldn't do it. So I hung those keys up, came back, and got back into the fresh, hot smell of Heroes of the Storm, and it's great in there. I'm enjoying the hell out of it.
Also, mounting is great.
Yeah, forgot about mounts.
Walking back when you it's such a setback when you get killed in lane. And you miss your goal, you miss your last hit, your CS.
Yeah, or even if you're just out in lane, you don't die. You just have to be back to the whatever they call their version of the Nexus, and then run back out. It's nightmarishly long.
Yeah,
and the games are an hour and 10 minutes, and that's an exaggeration. The 2-3 games I played in League,
about 40 or 50, unless your team decides to give up.
Yeah,
surrendering. That's why surrendering is in that game, because they go 50 minutes. So,
right.
Yeah.
And you got to get the whole team on board, and if they don't, it's just irritating. And then I come back to Heroes. It's like, oh my gosh, I pumped that out in a maximum of the longest game I had was 25 minutes this week or whatever. Lots of games between 15, 20. It's perfect. I can get 2-3 games in, call that hour good, and get out. Whereas with the other game, I'd have played maybe one. Well, I guarantee I would have only played one. And who knows, how far we'd have gotten in before everybody wanted to quit, and or we maybe eked out a win. Like, I don't know. It's not my bad.
One of the other issues, too, is that you have to know your item builds and how to play the hero. There's a lot more knowledge to research if you're serious about, your preferred champion. And probably if you're researching, you're picking a champion that's more meta, so someone else takes it. And if you only got one hero that you're good with, you're screwed. Like, you don't get a ton of opportunity to try playing a wide pool of heroes like you do if you get 6 games in a night. Chances are you'll probably play like 3 or 4. You know what I mean? Like, so there's also more. If you have 2 hours of playtime, you get 2 games in League, or you get 6 games, 5 to 6 games in Heroes. So that's that many more opportunities to, practice other heroes and roles and things like that.
And that's what's cool about Heroes is you can do what you just said, but also it's one of the things they fix about the game. There's still strategy in there. It's more accessible on the front end. There's still a big skill ceiling on the back end. If you really want to be good at a character, you can be heads and tails and tiers above anybody else's play if you're a really good Chen, because we had that Chen out last night that pissed me off so bad. But that's a good example. And if you're not playing Chen at the highest level, or if that's your preferred character, but you get in and somebody else took him in the draft or something, or somebody banned him, there is a bunch of other heroes that you can play without, like, oh my gosh, I don't know I forgot all the item trees I have to make sure and buy, and I don't like any of the suggested ones, and like I can't do them, dude. I tried. This is the better. I'm sorry, it's just a better game. Come at me, bro. At me.
Also, in the weeks that I've been back playing pretty hardcore, the past couple weeks, I haven't seen a single Cho'Gall.
Oh, interesting.
Like, there's plenty of irritating Hammer and Morales crap. Like, there's cheese for sure, but I haven't seen a Cho'Gall.
I've seen lots of Novas, lots of Samuro for some reason. He's in everything. I think it's a speed bump helped him. Yeah, Samuro was everywhere. Almost every game I'm in, I swear he's in there. And then who else? Oh, a lot of who's stabby lady from Diablo 2? Can't think of her name. Cassia.
Okay, yeah, it's lots of Cassia.
Yeah, lots of Cassia. Valera as well. She's kind of all up my butt. So anyway, it's just a great game. And I played some games with you guys last night, and we lost a bunch. Bo and I won one, and then John came on, and we lost everything for. I'm not implying that John came in and made us lose. That's not what I was doing. I'm just saying we kept losing. It was just the luck of the draw, but. I still had a blast. Like I pined to play more. I want to play more. I haven't felt this way in a while, so call it
it's okay, Scott. We won one after you.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah, we did.
Oh.
Barely. We were dominating for the first half, and then it got real scary, and then we just decided, what if we won right at the end?
Well, then it's a win sandwich, because Bo and I won the one at the top. You came in, we lost everything, and at the bottom, you guys won. So those losses were the meat, and you guys were the bread. Or Bo was the bread, I guess. So nice job, Bo. You're a good piece of bread.
Way to be nice the bread.
Yeah, nice piece of white bread. Anyway.
It's good. You can put fish on that. Make a fish sandwich.
Anyway, if you guys, got away from it, or you're like, yeah, I'm mad at Blizzard 2 or whatever, I would recommend just poking your head in there. Your favorite MOBA is kind of better than ever, and I like it. And I think I just kind of had a coming to Jesus moment on it finally. And part of it was, going and playing those other games and just reminding myself what I like about it. And there's a lot to like, it turns out. All right, that's not what we were going to talk about today. I mean, we can talk about anything, but that was not the main topic.
We can talk about as much Heroes as we want.
Yeah, we absolutely can.
Yeah. So it's always on the table.
But I have a larger issue I want to discuss real quick, and it is some of this is in lieu of any actual gaming news that we can riff on this week, but I have this issue. Today, July 17th, 2019. I'm going to burp. Hold on.
Some might call it your birthday.
Oh, yeah, it's my birthday. Thank you for
Happy birthday, Mr. Frogpants.
Yeah, it's my birthday. That's fine. For my birthday, I thought, you know what? I'm going to give myself a video game. That's what I'm going to do.
Oh, nice.
Yep.
What'd you get yourself?
Today, on the 17th, a game was released on Steam that I have been excited about called Gloomhaven. And you hear that and go, oh, wait, isn't that a board game? Yes. It's an extremely popular board game. One I haven't played yet. So I come to this only with the knowledge that it seems awesome, and I can't wait for someone to actually have it, and I'll absolutely play this at some point. But it's also a huge commitment. It's the kind of board game you leave on a table for weeks, and nobody touches that room while we're gone, and, got a bit of a D&D level of commitment to it. Yeah. So I was excited about a video game, because often game versions of this stuff will distill these things down into more playable chunks, and I also liked what I'd seen screenshot-wise, and I was excited about it. So along comes this release, $24, it's up on Steam. I decide to just go for it, And I learned very quickly, oh, it's early access. Well, that's okay. I do that a lot. It's early access. Let's download this thing and, see what's going on. My favorite early access games are games that are almost done. They just are they're feature finished, but now it's just polish and tweak and play test and update and take feedback and implement feedback. Like, that's my kind of early access game, and there are plenty of examples of those. But there's this other category of game on early access where they just aren't done at all. And I don't mean broken or so buggy it's impossible to load or any of that. I mean, feature-wise, there's just nothing in the game yet, and this is one of those. There's one mode available. It's called Adventure Mode. There are only 2 characters available at this stage, and there's supposed to be, I don't know how many, but way more than that. And Adventure Mode is just a handful of small quests, basically, dungeon crawls that involve the combat systems of the game. And that the combat systems are, supposed to be basically what the board game is at this point. But the tutorial is not there yet. The campaign not there yet. Multiplayer not there yet. Co-op not there yet. All of these things are coming. None of it's there. And I got to thinking, well, first of all, I feel like that's just too early. Like, that is some early ass access. And I understand people want to be tip of the spear on something they love, which is great, but I think it's too early for that game. I couldn't recommend it in good conscience to people who are stoked about it quite yet. I think it'll all get there. Don't get me wrong. Already it's like visually really polished and neat looking. Like, I think they've got something, but I can't in good conscience tell somebody to spend their hard-earned money on a game that really does feel like they aren't even to a point that you could say an alpha. Like, this is so early. So that opened up the broader question to me. Early access. We've had it for a while now. I don't know how many years. It's not just the domain of Steam anymore. All the other online PC stores do it. Consoles do it now to some degree. Like, early access is a thing. Welcome to the thing. It's a thing. The question is, are we getting the best value for that thing? And should there be some standard for how far along should something be before you can call it early access? Would we do this with other content? Would we go to a movie theater and spend our $14 and all our popcorn money on a movie that didn't have any of the effects in and just had animatics for placeholders? Would we buy music that wasn't mastered in the studio yet and had a lot of echo and you can hear a guy talking the whole time we're eating a sandwich? Would we watch, and you get the idea. Would we take other entertainment and accept it at roughly a full price? A lot of times early access means you're going to pay a little bit less, but usually not that much. Like, I'll bet this thing's $29 at launch. It's $24 now, so you're going to save yourself $4 or $5, I guess. So I guess what I'm saying is, does this give you any pause, or should we not care about this? Should the rule just be don't ever get early access because you're going to get disappointed? Is it not that big a deal at all? Because I might be making a mountain out of molehill here. So, Bo, I hand it to you on a platter and say...
Gloomhaven was a product of Kickstarter.
Right.
And so it owes its existence to early funding. What's strange about Gloomhaven is they went for early access and didn't kickstart the video game.
Yeah, right? Like,
it makes you wonder
success.
why this seemed like the better option.
They had enormous success. Maybe it's because they know that they would get a built-in test audience and they need that or something.
Yeah, but I mean, like, yeah, it's just tough with a game because things can be iterated or not. So oftentimes when you look at something that's, an alpha or beta, depending on its release condition, you can't tell. Because I'm looking at the Gloomhaven video now, is it going to look this crappy when it releases, or is it going to look better?
Right.
And when I say crappy, I just mean, like, we're not talking Blizzard levels of animation here. We're talking the motion, it does what it looks like it's meant to do, but it's not A tier, right? You're buying this knowing it's an indie game. It's like B or C tier art and animation. Still looks great, but am I getting something better at the end, or is this my finished product?
Right.
See, then what I like about Kickstarter when it comes to games is that, like, what I like about the contract is that you're just investing in the hopes that something gets produced, and there really can't be an expectation of how it looked like. But when I'm buying early access, I'm like, what am I getting in the end? Because I know that games can be dramatically improved or hardly improved at all in the ways I imagine. So, yeah, I don't know. That's. I mean, I don't. I bought DayZ in early access, and that's really soured me to the concept because
That's
it's
definitely
like
one
year,
to do that too. That's one to sour you for sure.
Yeah, I got in like 2010. It was one of the first early access game or whatever year it was. It was a long time ago.
All right.
And it had finally launched, and obviously in a really bad state, pretty much defunct. Just put it out.
Yeah.
And I realize, I don't know, probably, I think general confidence in early access should be pretty high. There's a lot of good examples, but yeah, I don't love it. I mostly wait now. I don't buy any early access, so that tells you what I think about it.
John, do you what's your usual when it comes to this sort of thing? Do you wait? Do you buy early? What do you do?
I think you got to try and be smart about it. I mean, like anything, you can get tricked either way. There are games out there, we talk about pre-ordering games and stuff like that, and you can pre-order a game being 100% certain it's going to be something you want, get it, and then be surprised to find out it's not. Or you can look at something like, my favorite example is always the last Doom game, where we in Slack were talking about it up to the day that game came out. Like, this can't be good, right? This game isn't going to be good, is it? And none of us were really sure. All of us were really skeptical. And then slowly we started seeing more and more of it. And we were like, I think this game might be good. I think we should actually get it. And I remember, Scott, you and I ended up getting it. I think the night it came out, we were both downloading it because we changed our mind right at the last second and thought, oh, maybe we are going to like this game. And it ended up being great. And I kind of view early access the same way. There have been some games I've played in early access that have been phenomenal, that I've loved the experience of. And I've loved watching the games evolve over time. Hades is a really good one right now on the Epic Games Store. And that's a fun game to check in with every now and then and go, well, how has this evolved since the last time? I have every faith that Hades is going to come out. I basically got into the early access not because I was like, oh, I want to get in here and really try that. I just couldn't wait. I love their games. I knew it was going to eventually hit, and I wanted to get in and play it early. But I think that there are plenty of times that people get burned, and so I think ultimately, I don't think it's inherently bad to do early access. I think it just depends on what you want out of it and what your expectations are. And if it's something that's going to be able to really hurt your feelings and expectations and all that, then avoid it. If it's something where you're going to get in and have a good time, regardless of whether it's early access or not, go for it. Get in there and do it. Because I know for me, that's just been the case with a lot of games. Not Rogue Legacy. What was it? The game kind of like that was in early access for so long before it finally came out. We play the headless dude,
right?
Or the like moss for head.
Dead Cells.
Dead Cells. Yeah.
Dead Cells.
Yeah.
That's a game.
I bought that in early access actually.
I did too.
I've probably put more hours into that game in early access than I have since it came out live. But that hasn't soured me on that experience because I had a great time. Now, if a game comes out and is very, very rough, like Gloomhaven, like you're talking about, I think I would hope that the developers are setting an expectation. I don't think they necessarily have to, but I think they should come out and say, here's where we're at. Here's what you're getting. Here's what you're buying into. And it's going to grow and evolve. And if you know you're going to be all in on that, then sure, get in now. Why not? If you don't want to wait. But if you want a finished product, then I think, just ignore early access because there's a chance you could be burned for a while or have something that's not going to be of any use to you for a long while. But I think I've had too many good experiences to just say, it's intrinsically bad. We should never do it.
Yeah, I think
it's
I agree.
On the consumer to figure out.
I think I agree.
Another
with that.
good one was Slay the Spire as well.
Oh yeah, Slay the Spire was in, and that seemed like it was in that state for a long time. But part of it is, like, if the Slay the Spire guy turned around and says, all right, my new game's coming out soon in early access, I'd go, sweet, I'm getting it day one. So that's more of a, I trust him now. because he's
Yeah.
proved
Or if
himself.
there's a playable amount of, like, I could have bought both those games, Dead Cells and Slay. I could have bought, and there could have been no further development, and still felt like my money was well spent because there was enough for me to play.
Right. In the case of Hades, I'm like John. I bought it as well, and that game is great, and I very much look forward to whatever its final state is. But it's a very playable game since day one. Was never buggy. I didn't feel like I was playing a half-baked alpha. But I think part of it is they proved time and time again that they go all in on the polish, that the final product is exactly what you would hope it would be, and more. They exceed your expectations. And so at this stage, I just trust them. In fact, for all I know, I think Hades is their first early access game. I don't think any of their other games hit early access before. So some may see that as a disappointment. For me, it's like, no, I'll get in on the ground floor of this one, and I'll save a little money, and I'll be a part of the growth of this thing before it even hits because I trust those guys. So to me, that's the bigger factor. If you release a piece of junk and you've never done anything else to prove yourself, then gamers aren't going to trust you, and then they won't trust early access in general. They'll trust it less.
Again, it's not perfect. I think now that I think of it, Slay the Spire, we've talked about the art before. When that was in early access, there was some sense on my part, at least hoping that this wasn't final art.
Right. Right. Did you see the actual game, the board gameplay stuff and all that? I thought that looked pretty good. It's the trailer I don't like.
What, in Gloomhaven?
Gloomhaven, yeah. Gloomhaven.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard nothing but good things about the game, so it looks to me like a game that rides on the back of its gameplay and not its graphics, so I take umbrage in that, right?
Yeah. But but in Slay the Spire's case, I mean, it's still ugly, and that game's out.
Yeah, but I mean, even with this Gloomhaven thing, like, honestly, these cards might be fun to play or very functional in the board game, but they have a card system. It doesn't. I mean, it's just text.
Right.
I'm just like, that's where you get into the whole conversation of, if you're playing a video game, why aren't we doing video game things? Like, do we even need to have a card system? And I guess it's for the faithful who really like the board game, who want it in digital format, and there's nothing wrong with it. But, it's again, because it's early access, maybe that's going to happen, or maybe that's not going to happen. And it's just a part of the decision making, at least for me, when I'm buying something. Like, is it just going to look like this when it launches? Because I think I'll still play it. But Gloomhaven's an exception. It has super strong word of mouth.
Yeah.
And I want to say that Slay the Spire, there was even a time, maybe not right away, but I remember looking into that before I bought it, going, oh, they're going to add new art. I remember that being something that they were like, new art is coming. We're working on new art. And then they did it, and you were like, it's still bad.
Mm-hmm.
It's new, sure, but it's still not very good.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that that's another thing that can be a pitfall. I mean, that game's great. That game's fantastic. But, if you look at the description for early access and you go, I don't like how this game looks, and then in there they say, oh, we're working on new art for the game, you go, oh, it'll be better. No guarantee that that's going to happen either.
Right.
But I think you need to evaluate. Are you going to be content with the experience you get as it is? Or are you hoping that it's going to become something bigger? And if you are hoping it'll become something bigger and better, I'd say avoid early access, because you're making a gamble at that point. And that's a risk. That's now on you if you do it. But to me, that's where that divide is every time I've been happy with early access, I knew I was going to be happy with the thing that I was buying at that time, and hoping that it would become better.
Yeah.
And any time that I've ever gone, well, maybe it'll turn into something good, it's usually a letdown.
Yeah. That's a fair point. That's why I like their return policy. If you're not happy in that first couple hours, you can just turn right around and get it returned. I was looking at the 12 games, so I don't know if you guys knew this, but there were 12 games that launched the first early access program on Steam. And I think that's technically the first early access program anywhere. These are what they were. Well, I'll tell you the ones that ended up making it. Okay, so of the 12, and that's kind of what's funny. There's a handful of these fell off and died, which before they were finished. Which, again, the very first run up couldn't even finish all 12 games. But here were those 9 that made it. It was Kenshi, Kerbal Space Program, Arma 3. Prison Architect, Drunken Robot Pornography. I don't know what that is. It sounds like a great
It's
night.
what robots look at when they're drunk.
I guess so. Gnormia. I don't know how you say that. Gnormori. Gamoria? Whatever that is. Gear Up and Kinetic Void. Those were ultimately, quote unquote, finished. There were some others called, let's see, Under the Ocean, Kick It. A few other games did not make it. And that's okay. But the point is that, I don't know. I guess we remember some of these games. Arma 3 was a big deal.
Kerbal Space Program was huge.
Yeah. Prison Architect sells tons of copies.
Yeah, I own
Brother
Prison
really
Architect.
likes that
I think
game, actually.
Yeah.
I put more time into it in the pre-release than I did since I got the actual thing.
See, I feel like that's another factor here, and you mentioned it before, but it's worth talking about. This, I feel like this happened with all of us with Overwatch. We played the living crap out of that Overwatch beta. Just played, tons of levels, unlocked ourselves to Oblivion and back, and played. Game comes out, it's official. We get in, we play it, but we've already spent the last 9 months cranking on that thing. And now it's like, oh, I don't know. It feels like a little much now. And you didn't roll over my levels or, none of that stuff came forward for all my testing. It's just the game now. And we, I easily played more in the beta than I have in actual live game.
Yeah.
I mean, again, it's not a problem, but that's a weird part of this, right? Like you get your
Right,
fill.
it doesn't remove the good times you had.
Yeah.
It's not like we look at it and go, well, we didn't have any fun with Overwatch because all that alpha stuff doesn't count. But at the same time, there is a level of, now it's out and it's for everybody and everybody's playing it. And you've got a lot of people that are like, I'm kind of sick of it. But I will say one of my favorite things about early access, and this is the reason why I tend to still pay attention to these games in general, is because usually as it's getting close to coming out, there's a patch where they just tighten everything up right to where they're thinking it's going to be for release.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so cool to see that big jump from, the early little tweaks here and there, and we're getting things in place and we've put this system, but then there's that one where it's just sort of all the threads finally connecting and pulling everything together and how all the systems are going to work. And I love that. The feeling of getting into that patch with a game you're familiar with is really kind of a unique and fun experience. And I love going through that. Like, I don't follow development very much. I do have kind of a passing interest in documentaries and behind the scenes and stuff like that, but there's something about seeing a game go from still its rough early days to where it's just hitting its stride and about to be the finished product. That's a fun patch to get in.
Yeah, I agree. A good example of EA meaning early access. I kind of hate that EA is the short for early access, but whatever. It was Darkest Dungeon. That's a great example of a game that is incredibly good and got there on the backs of early buyers and players. And
was that not Kickstarter? It was early access.
I thought it may have been both. I don't know.
Did they do both?
Could have been both.
No, it was definitely early access.
Yeah, early access for sure. I don't know about the Kickstarter part. It might have been.
Oh, I thought maybe it was a Kickstarter.
That's not hugely unusual either, though. Like a lot of these games will hit early access. Well, like the Kickstarter for
Oh no, there's a Kickstarter here for Darkest Dungeon.
Yeah, they did both, is what they did, which is not that unusual. They're not really meant to be the same thing. I mean, in essence, they kind of are.
Well, like Darkest Dungeon, I guess the Kickstarter, sorry, it was the seed money.
Yeah.
So that they can finish a product, and then they might as well just release it and collect more revenue as they make it.
Yeah.
It's essentially pre-order. Like, pre-order is early access. It's just the big companies have to deliver something, but you have no idea if that's a jank pile.
Right.
Like, imagine all the people who pre-ordered Anthem, bought an early access game that stayed in early access.
Yeah. No, I haven't heard. By the way, speaking of that, I haven't heard jack about that game lately. Like, are they even doing anything with it? Is it just a giant waste of 5 years of development? What happened with that thing?
I don't know. They've been mum about it. There's supposed to be some big update. I think nobody cares. I think that ship has sailed on it.
Yeah.
And it's up to them to either pull a blizzard and still continue to support their game, even though they've put it somewhat at pasture.
Yep.
Or the community has, or I assume because it's EA, BioWare, it's just gonna hit the dumpster.
Oh, it's a bummer, dude. So much cool potential in a game like that.
I missed the name of the game. Yeah, we were talking about Anthem.
Anthem.
That's rough. For some reason, my mind drifted, and I thought of another early access kind of nightmare that exists.
What's that?
Called Star Citizen.
Oh yeah, that's a very special kind of nightmare.
I saw a picture of Chris Roberts in the Face app. It's like circa 2043 when Star Citizen finally launches.
Did somebody do that? That's hilarious.
I can't remember where I saw that. I was on Reddit.
Oh, that's really funny. Yeah, no, that game is in. I don't even know what to call that thing. It's not even. I don't know what that is.
It's the Fire Festival of video games.
Oh my lord! Listen to that description. That's gonna get bad. They even got celebrities all pumped to be in it and everything. You're describing it exactly so far. I mean, it may all work out in the end, but how long are we gonna do this? Like, how long does your freaking funding plan go? Because they're still doing it. Still buying ships and stuff for $1,000, whatever people are paying for this crap. I get an email.
Well, there's playable content in there for people. Like, it's
an alpha.
I don't know what state it's in. I remember hearing you could walk as a first-person shooter onto space stations. It's got everything in the kitchen sink. It sounds amazing.
I know. If they can do what they're saying they're going to do, and maybe it does take this long, then it could be the most incredible game ever. But I sure would rather not everyone have to give
When did it start? When did this start? When did this madness start?
People are going to pre-order that, and then they're going to have to put on their will that their grandsons and granddaughters get access to the game.
Get all their ships.
Yeah.
I leave to my child my ship that I pre-ordered.
That I never played, that I never flew once. Or maybe you did in alpha or something, but there's no semblance of a release date for this thing.
This is the Google's blurb when you Google Star Citizen Kickstarter start date. Star Citizen was announced in 2012 as a Kickstarter crowdfunding campaign to be a spiritual successor to Wing Commander and Freelancer. The initial estimated target release date was said to be 2014.
Yeah.
We're 5 years beyond the target release date, and the game has expanded into a giant pile of stuff. Development of the game began in 2011. So,
I mean, now you can land on planets. Now, supposedly, that first-person shooter behind the back stuff works when you get out of the ship. Supposedly, the story mode is a whole separate thing.
Like, by the time they launched this thing, the way people appreciate and enjoy games now is like you launch the game and they want more content after. They want expansions. They want a sequel. If it is in fact going to be good, I don't think anyone is going to want to continue working on that game after. Like, it's just insane to me. And like, how long is it going to take to get the rest of the content out there? I don't know.
I mean, look, a spiritual successor to Wing Commander and Freelancer sounds great. I'm all on board, and if they can make the game they're describing, that sounds beyond phenomenal to me.
Yeah.
But the red flag for me is when they start to do, we're adding this, and it's going to be modules, and you're like, what does that mean? Well, we're going to have like a flight module, and maybe that'll come out, and then we'll do like a battle module, and we'll do it, and you're just like, what are you talking about? These aren't words or sentences that are used when talking about video games that are coming out. You are trying to fix something that's on fire, is what it sounds like.
It does sound that way, yeah.
I don't believe it, and I'm not going to believe it until I see it. And as much as I would like to be a part of the buy-in on Star Citizen, I can't, because it feels artificial right now to me. And to me, there's too many red flags on that one.
It's taken forever is the main thing. I did play at that one. They had like a open alpha weekend thing for anybody who wanted to get in. And it felt like a way for them to show people, yes, we're making progress. Excuse me, but I found it really obtuse and hard to figure out and janky. There was a ship that was trapped halfway into the landing pad, and I couldn't get it out. And
I was gonna say, I remember seeing footage of this game, and I think it was from you, just looking out at a ship, just like embedded into this bigger landing platform.
Yeah, it was bad. It was really bad. But I see the potential. I get it. We gave him too much money. Yeah,
that's what happened. I'm looking here. They gave him $250 million.
Gosh, dang it, man! Feature creep is what they've got. Is feature creep. That's what's going on.
I mean, they have enough money. I don't know how much it costs to run a studio that's just making one game. Although a serious scope game was at a couple million a year in staff and rent and buildings.
Yeah, I don't know. I assume so. I assume
It's just-
I assume it's extremely expensive, and they probably have to look at like, well, how are we supporting this down the road? Are we
like
making a
most
traditional
companies
game?
generate revenue, I guess is what I'm saying. Like game companies at some point they generate, like they may take 10 years on a game, but they're releasing other crap or they're doing side work for other companies, like the contracts, things like that. What are they doing?
But
Right.
at some point, someone has to sit there and go, you know what we need? Gary Oldman. And someone goes, no, we need to make a game first.
Yeah, like make your game. Yeah, that's exactly it.
Like, it's a 250 million spent by now, I guess.
Yeah,
is what I'm
it's, well, I
asking.
don't know if it's spent, but one would assume that they're churning through that money. They must be just burning through it.
Because the idea kind of is like we give you that money and then it fulfills the investment.
Right.
So that money's spent, then you just release what you got and just admit to the world that you messed up.
Well, and
Like,
here's,
I don't know.
here's the problem with that, because this wasn't traditional investment. This wasn't angel investors. This wasn't game investors or an existing game company. This was out of the pockets of fans. And that's bad if you at a $250 million level, if that crashes around those guys, that's bad. Like that's
Like
a
eventually
really,
at some point, if they run out of that money, they got to go, we got to scrap it. We're just releasing Overwatch.
they make a team-based shooter out of it. That'd be
Which
amazing.
is kind of what's happening. I mean, this whole thing is like we're making Privateer, and then it's like, well, we're doing Squadron 42.
Yeah,
And I'm
kind of.
like, okay, we got this other weird shit we did, but we're just gonna make Squadron 42, and who knows if the other stuff. I don't know. I'm sort of. I think we're all talking a bit out of our butts here because I would really like to have played it firsthand myself,
Right.
like in its current state today, to say like, oh, this have faith, everyone. But I think it's a big con at this point.
Yeah, it feels pretty.
I
Feels
think
pretty
they're just-
connish.
I think they woke up one day, realized they didn't have a game. They were like, we got to tell them. And then someone like turned on the news and saw the state of the world, and they went, hold on. World might end before we have to admit to anything.
Yeah.
Let's
let it
just
go.
ride it out and
Yeah.
see what happens.
Write it out. Keep putting out emails talking about Gary Oldman, and everything will be
Yeah,
fine.
quick. Take a picture of Mark Hamill, send it out.
Yeah, 'cause
Print it.
It's right. He's in that too, isn't he?
Yeah.
And that looked good. I can't tell if it's a video game though. Here's the thing. To finish this out. Well, actually, to finish that specific issue out, Rebel Galaxy Outlaw looks like what I'm looking forward to the most in my next space game that's like Privateer. That's
Oh,
like
heck yeah.
those games. I cannot wait for that. But they keep teasing us online, those jerks. Their Twitter account is nothing but like, wouldn't it be cool? Me? And then some gif of in their game. It's like, dude, finish your game. I mean, at least there I'm not paying anything yet, but I will play it today. I want that game so bad. Oh my gosh, Rebel Galaxy Outlaw. That's all I care about. That's my game that I care about right now.
I'm with you because I like that team. That seems like a cool world. It was supposed to be a Star Wars game, and I just think it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be awesome.
It looks insane. It looks like it's going to answer all the things I want. I love the first one too, and I think this looks like it addresses everything that you could criticize about the first one. Oh my gosh, just hurry up and finish it.
You can go up and down, like
Yeah.
in space. Crazy.
XY access, man.
Yeah,
All
we
right,
discovered it.
Couple of quick notes here. I should probably play this as a transition. I'll save this delete thing for later because I think that actually makes a good main topic, and we may need one next week. So, Nintendo, we announced the Switch Lite last week, or we talked about the announcement, and they'll now have this portable Focus Switch, which is cool. And we went back and forth on that. They also have now followed that up with a new Switch model. So, John, your question about let's see what they do for the base model that is the TV handheld combo and what they change. It turns out not much. One would assume, and we can only assume because they didn't address it, things like better Joy-Con anti-drift, better construction of those parts of the device would
Or
hopefully
a
be
version
included.
that has a D-pad on it, seeing as that's what people are so excited about with the Switch Lite.
Yeah,
Maybe
a D-pad
sell a
maybe.
Joy-Con with a D-pad.
Exactly, or have some way of attaching a D-pad, something, but not really. All you're going to get is really the original Switch with better battery life, up to 9 hours on a single charge. Excuse me, that is significantly higher than the current Switch, but that's only important in undocked mode anyway. So both of these new Switches are very much undocked friendly because of the battery life improvement. But that's about it. You're looking at the last one was something like, let's see, 2.5 to 6 hours, depending on what you were doing. This will do 4.5 to 9. That's considerably higher, and that's really the only change.
Nintendo is like your friend that continues to succeed with minimum effort and but really greatly. Like the person you're like, man, they're lucky.
Yeah.
You just don't know how they do it because they seem so averse to actually succeeding.
Yeah.
Because Nintendo, every time it's like, hi, we're Nintendo, we're doing a new console. Is it gonna have, what are you doing? Good graphics? No, not really. Well, what are you doing for internet? What's the internet? And you're like, what are you doing, Nintendo? They're like, we're gonna make this console. I don't know. It's gonna have things that come off of it. It's gonna be this. Oh, like a handheld and a portable. Yeah, but like way crazier. 3D rumble. You're gonna be motion. You can be swinging these little joy pads. Look at these little sticks. They're great.
Yeah.
Isn't that fun? And
Yeah.
you're like, no, it isn't fun. And then it comes out, and you're like, oh, how did this work? How did this happen? How are they successful? How did they do it? And then you look at something like people going, oh, I want a D-pad on that. Oh, can we just get a D-pad? And they're like, no, we can't do that.
I can't give
And
you
they're
a
like,
D-pad.
well, but you sell Joy-Cons separately. And
Yeah.
I'm telling you, as a consumer, I will spend your $30 or $40 or whatever it is to get 2 more Joy-Cons that just have a D-pad on it.
Yeah.
Well, we here at Nintendo do not
They're-
want your money, sir. Thank you very much.
Their aesthetic resonates with grandmas and the older generation that doesn't play games.
I mean, kind of.
That's like the characters. Like when you look at an older parent, you're not familiar with games at all, and you look at a PlayStation 4 and it looks like a black box of death for illegal stuff versus Mario and Link and Donkey Kong and like the colorful box, and games on them seem pretty great too. That's my personal experience of people who are, they're like, I want to buy a video game system for my child. It's going to be a Switch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's how they
it's
succeed.
Deserved.
Yeah.
I don't think
I
Xbox
get how
or
they got there,
PlayStation-
but also Scott has it. He's the grown ass man.
I am
Yeah,
a
well,
grown-ass
he-
man.
he's a competent gamer who discerns game. Like he can read the context of it. I'm saying for the people who can't, Xbox and PlayStation look like they're for basement people because in their minds that's what gamers are. I'm not
Right.
saying this is what we think, but there are people out there who think this way.
Right.
They want to get a nice product for their child, and maybe they'd be even interested. Everyone I peek to in my life who's a non-gamer thinks Nintendo's great, and that's how they get by.
Well,
I'm not offering commentary whether it's good or bad.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I think you're 100% right. That's why they succeed. But you just look at it and you're like, what if you succeeded a little bit more? And they're like, we don't need to. And you're like, but could we? Because I think I would be on board with that idea. And they're like, nah, don't worry about it.
I mean, to put that's a fair point, but I also want to say I do believe that the Switch. My prediction: the Switch Lite is going to sell like freaking hotcakes. That thing is going to be extremely popular, like out of control popular. It's going to sell so many freaking systems and games. It's going to be ridiculous, and I wish they would have had the same excitement toward a revision of the base model, because it feels like, oh, better battery. And that's cool. I like better battery. Don't get me wrong. This thing's got kind of a short battery, but like that should be more than that. So
I've owned like 5 Nintendo 3DSs and they don't break. It's not like when I owned a bunch of Xbox 360s because the system kept breaking. They all work, but somehow I keep buying them, and I kept trading them in before I did Nintendo's weird swap thing because, once again, hey, Nintendo, could I have purchases tied to my account? No, we don't do that. Well, what do? Well, you got to have both systems together, and you got to hook them up, and you got to make them communicate with each other, and then you transfer ownership, and then you can get rid of the other system. Well, what if my other system gets stolen? You're screwed. Sorry, buy the games again.
Buy new
at
games.
full price because we're never going to put them on sale. And you're just like, what are you doing? And yet I still did it. I still bought a bajillion 3DSs. I still have one under a bed somewhere in there. And every time I go to the store and I look at the new model of 3DS because they put a different case around it every couple of months, I go, oh, that's a way better looking 3DS.
They're a little like Apple this way. They drive people to pay for things they really don't need to or shouldn't, or it's that kind of thing. They're very good at that. or at least they are often good at that. They're good at it at the moment again, and they were good at it before the Wii U, and they'll be probably bad at it again at some point and good at it again after that. But I really like these guys, and I love this device, and I want one, but I don't want the base model again. In fact, this actually helps me. Like all this negative nilly here, this confirms which one I'm interested in for this next little run, and how I can pass my other one to the kids.
You're gonna get the
Switch Lite.
Oh yeah, totally. Like without an estimate, I play portable all the time. That's all I do. My only thing I'm complaining about, or I feel like complaining about, is that I do like to stream from it, and I won't be able to do that with the Lite.
Will there be graphical fidelity adjustments if it's a screen-only device?
No,
like the games run only in 480p or something. Because
I see what you're saying.
720.
So normally it's the
smaller.
other.
It might look a little better, actually.
Yeah, it depends. That's usually the case. It'll usually, no matter what, look better on the small handheld. But also, it takes more to pump it to the TV than it does to the screen. But sometimes the screen is a higher resolution of the game, so you might.
There's more pixels in a screen than in the little screen you have.
Yeah, I forget what the pixel resolution is on this thing in portable mode, but I want to say it's easier to play.
The less
1080.
pixel you have, the less information you've got to send to the input device.
Right, but you can also have a bigger resolution on a handheld than you do on a TV screen. I don't know how it works. I'm talking.
Oh, the dots per like pixels per inch.
Yeah,
you
pixels per inch stuff, like 1080p
they're,
versus 4K versus whatever. You know.
I mean, yeah, I've never used one firsthand. Is it really intense? Like the iPhones do that, right? Like they're super small screens, but they have an intense amount of pixels.
Right. So your phone, a lot of people's phones are higher resolution. Well, straight up are higher resolution than their TVs at home.
Yeah.
But they're not so spread out. But then
I'm just wondering if it's like, if it does do like the text. Oh, you're on a TV. We use higher resolution textures on surfaces, versus if it's on the screen, the little screen, it might use lower res textures. I don't know if that's not that it's on the screen, but that it's on the light, right?
Right. If anything, it's on the light. If anything, it's less that on the screen. Like the screen could handle more than the TV would. That's how it's been in the past. So, but usually, from my understanding, it's resolution. So you can run. I'm using it as an example purely. I don't actually know what the resolution is, but let's say Zelda Breath of the Wild runs at a higher resolution on the handheld than it does on the TV.
Okay.
I don't know why that is, because in theory the TV and the handheld are sharing the same resolution, but they're not going at the same time either. That's not a thing it does. It shuts one down and moves to the TV. I don't know. It's kind of complicated. I mean, they're never going to do 4K. I know that. A lot of stuff you're playing is like 720p. It's on par with like an Xbox 360, PS3 era kind of what it can output.
I'm just wondering for the Lite, which you get for yourself, it's the exact same specs as a Switch. It just doesn't plug into the TV.
Yeah, that's the only difference.
I sort of assume there's like a reduced processing power, but I didn't look at the specifications.
No, same exact processor, no difference. So that doesn't change.
Everything. Oh, okay. Then everything should be the same.
So it will play exact same.
Why would they even make that?
Well, I mean, they're doing it. They're doing it for a couple of reasons. I think the main reason is I think they have data, and I think it's good data, that people use it mostly in handheld mode, and that a less expensive model for those who either haven't pulled the trigger yet or really truly want to lean into the portability of it are all ready to spend their money if they put out something like this. I think it's also an easier way for them to put the 3DS in the coffin officially, because at this point this will be your portable game device. You really don't, 3DS can have it's been a great time, 3DS, thanks for being here, but we don't need you anymore, kind of thing. And
that all makes sense. Yeah, because it seems very product adjacent, right? Like it's the Switch, but it doesn't plug into a TV. That's it. That's the only difference.
Yeah,
it's a Switch, but
and you can't take the controllers off. The controllers are permanently attached to it.
Correct. That stuff's all built into it.
There are reasons for it, but they're just not obvious reasons. Like if I didn't know any better, I'd just be like, they're making the same thing but less good.
Kind of less features.
Yep.
Yeah, less features. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, less features. Like that's what I mean. Like, so why wouldn't I? And so, what am I paying the extra $200 for? Like,
but that's the funny thing is the end result hasn't been for me as somebody who's wanted to switch but can't take the plunge or just hasn't taken the plunge financially. I look at it and now instead of saying, "Oh, finally a solution for me, a Switch Lite, great. Now I'm looking at it and I'm going, well, shit, I want both now. now it's actually gone up in price by several $100s, because now I'm like, well, I need the normal Switch, because what if I want to dock it and undock it and have it on the TV, and what if I need those stupid Joy-Cons for something, and what if I want to go on top of a roof with a bunch of attractive people I don't know and unhook the Joy-Cons and hand it to them and play Mario Kart? It might happen.
Yeah.
And then I think about it and I'm like,
you might want a courtesy one to put in the bathroom.
Right.
But that's the thing, is I think, well, wait, no, I also am a human being and I poop and I got to go in there and I don't want to have to attach the Joy-Cons. And what if those Joy-Cons decide to break right as I'm turning over the toilet, and then bloop, there goes my investment. You know what? I need a mobile version too.
Yeah.
Better get both. Yeah. Really, the only reasonable.
You just need a dongle for the courtesy one, the courtesy Switch.
Well, but there's no,
so that, you know how like you attach it, yeah. So like
the wrist strap from the Wii U. Or
so
the
like
Wii,
so
Wii
take your it's like your toilet paper thing, except the toilet paper thing is like a holder for the Switch, and it stays in the bathroom. It's a courtesy Switch. So when guests come over, they're using the facilities. They can sit down. They can play the Switch for a bit, but it doesn't go far enough so that it can fall into the toilet hole. And they have to put it back and then go wash their hands.
Yeah, I'm never doing this.
For some reason, I'm picturing someone sitting there playing, and when they're done, just crumpling it up like newspaper and throwing it in the trash and being like, oh, that's a good time.
No, don't do that. It's not toilet paper.
Yeah, that's a Switch. Don't throw my Switch away. So here's someone in the chat said, I think it has a different processor, says Abandoned Cause. Incorrect. It is exactly the same processor. There's no change there. You're not getting any boost from that. So, Bo, here's who this is not for. It's not for people who already have a Switch. That's not who they're aiming for, although there'll be plenty of outliers like me.
They're trying to get me.
They're trying to get you, who hasn't picked one up yet. And they're trying to give people a faster, less expensive road to get to the games they also want to sell you, which are top shelf, best in class Zelda, Mario experiences. Like Nintendo still makes the games they make, and they're still
Link's
the best.
Adventure.
Yeah,
I'm like sitting here thinking like I'm kind of okay with not having the Switch. I think overall, and then I remember.
And then
Link's
you look
Adventure.
at that cute little diorama-looking game.
Yep, and you hear it's coming out September, and you're getting all excited because that's also the month that the Switch Lite comes out. And
Link's
also, you can play The Witcher on it too.
Yeah, The Witcher's coming to it.
So not only can you have cute adventures, but you can put babies in furnaces on the Switch.
Yeah, you can do that. You can have sex with witch ladies. You can
dress up in Yennefer's clothing and throw a baby in the furnace.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
All available on the Switch now.
All on the family-friendly Switch. That's absolutely right. All right, before we move on, Bo, I think you put this in here. A guy made a calculator in City Skylines that is powered by human poop. You need to explain that to me.
Yep. I don't fully understand how it was, but I'll give you what I got from the article, which I found interesting, is that he built a city using the existing infrastructure for human facilities, which included sewage, to build a calculator out of it. So basically you use one part of the city to put 4 bits worth of a number in it, and then you take another part of the city and put 4 bits in there using power stations, and then you use the sewage system to create and not functions.
Oh my gosh.
And then it will return a result by adding the 2 numbers together in the form of a 4-bit return involving power outages and poo consumption. So basically you can flood a power station, and a flooded power station doesn't generate power, which eventually no power can mean not in terms of on and off for bits.
Right. It's like 1 or 0, basically.
Yeah. So he literally built the city for the purpose of building a calculator.
Right.
And you look at the pictures of it in the map, and it's hilarious.
I have 2 thoughts on this. The first is this is possibly the most Bo news story I've ever seen.
It was like
in
PC
my
Gamer,
life.
and it had the word poo in it, and I was like, click immediately. They got me.
This is so 100% up Bo's alley. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And 2, just a question: math, has it gone too far?
And then finally, we can get the true villain here is math. That always has been.
It always is the villain. There's a thing in math called imaginary numbers that I still don't know what it means.
I don't either. I don't get that.
It's imaginary.
I think it's an actual concept. I'm not know if it's theoretical or real or whatever, but like my brain checks out at the concept of imaginary
Well,
numbers.
this reminds me. So this whole thing reminds me of somebody some years ago did a Minecraft level that was a 486 chip. It mimicked everything that an old Intel 486 processor did, and it did it slowly, mind you. Like it wasn't, lightning fast. Probably a lot like this. I'm guessing the city thing is not computing at super fast speeds like an actual processor would, but it recreated sort of all the on-off binary function of a processor and had it fully functioning, and even like cache levels of cache built into it and other stuff. Like it was crazy how people do that stuff. I don't get it. Like who does this? Who's sitting around doing this? I don't know.
People we need, probably.
Probably.
There's a whole set of human beings out there that we desperately need. They're important people. We'll never understand.
How do we get them out of there where they're at making this and into a place where we can use their knowledge? How can we do that?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know how we do it.
Because
We need to
right
get him
now,
to stop playing Minecraft. Apparently,
right now, this guy knows how to take sewage and turn off your plant and on again later. We got to figure out a way to focus that into something important. I don't know what it is,
yeah.
but somehow
And someday Minecraft will develop the cure to cancer, and we'll all
I'm
be
ready.
grateful for it.
I'm ready.
I used redstone.
They do use a lot of redstone, by the way. Tons of redstone.
That's gonna be the interview. You discovered the cure for cancer. How'd you do it? Well, I used a lot of redstone. I would have done it sooner, but a creeper blew up while I was working.
Because
on it.
redstone is like their wiring in that, right? Like it's the thing you can connect stuff with and have it react. It basically acts like a circuit. And it's really pretty genius if you think about it, what people do with this stuff. I'm ready for somebody to make a Mario level in Mario Maker that does this. Because it could do it. You want to make a string of things where Mario just runs by and a bunch of stuff reacts and does on and off functions and basically creates a calendar or a calculator? Totally can happen.
Or calendar.
Or
You can do whatever
calendar.
you want.
Sure. Why not?
I'm looking forward to that.
Somebody made a Stairway to Heaven, the song. And all I had to do was run Mario from left all the way to right, and the whole song played. Like, I don't know how they did that. It was crazy. There's all sorts of stuff like that. Yeah, that game is nuts.
While you guys were talking, I decided to look up imaginary numbers on Wikipedia, and I need to lie down.
Oh my gosh,
Sorry,
really?
Bo.
Is it scary?
It's so infuriating. Can I read it?
Yeah, read it. Give us the summary.
It'll be a bit long, but let me read it.
All right.
Should I do it in a?
No, hold on. Let me give you this.
accent?
This isn't exactly Dear Martha, but let's do it. All right, read it.
An imaginary number is a complex number that can be written as a real number multiplied by the imaginary unit I, which is defined by its property I squared equals -1. The square of an imagined number by is -b squared. For example, 5i is an imaginary number, and its square is -25. 0 is considered to be both real and imaginary.
I hate this.
And I'm like, what? And look, it even goes further. Some authors use the term pure imaginary number to denote what is called here an imaginary number, and then imaginary number in italics to denote any complex number with a non-zero imaginary part. And I'm like,
I love
what
it.
does that mean?
Yeah.
I love that we reached a world where math people crossed their arms and were like, it's an imaginary number. And like they created their own little society, and then even that society split, and there were people that were like, your numbers aren't imaginary enough, man. Your numbers are imaginary numbers. My numbers are real imaginary numbers. You just have imaginary numbers.
So it addresses that here. It was originally coined by Rene Descartes, which I've heard of before from math class.
Yeah.
It was derogatory and regarded as for numbers regarded as fictitious or useless. But then the concept gained popularity and became a thing
Oh.
in later years by mathematicians.
Well,
Like actual math, like not computer programming math, but like math people who use chalkboards to do math are freaks.
yeah. I thought you were going to say something else, but yes. Because you said
Well,
the
the
way you
freaks.
said it it sounded like Ricky or somebody was about to tell me
Yeah.
that math guys who do stuff on chalkboards, they are freaks. And I swear I felt an F-bomb coming, but it didn't happen.
No, they're freaks. Like
Okay.
it's just emphasis on the F. Like that's crazy sauce.
Yeah, I agree, dude. This is not my realm. I do
Like
not
I got
exist.
off the. I used to be really into math in high school, and then it started getting weird, and went on the off ramp. I was like, I'm driving off this. I don't like it anymore.
Oh, we have gone too far.
Yeah, you're like, who does that remind me of? Oh, you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of Ibbot. His dad is like some surgeon cancer genius guy who solves all sorts of stuff, does surgeries. I don't know what his exact focus is, but apparently he's a big deal.
like a doctor.
Yeah, like a high like a highfalutin doctor, not some family practitioner.
Cancer genius.
Yeah, like a guy, the kind of guy that you'd name like a wing of your hospital after. Big deal kind of guy, right?
Right. He's a full on doctor. Like,
Yeah, he's very accredited, high end, makes tons of money, blah blah blah. He
a renowned doctor.
I think one time, Ibit, I think he told me this. I hope I'm not making this up in my head. But
That's his official title, surgeon cancer genius. He's on NBC, giving expert like opinions.
He's about to sell his own brand of bathwater.
Exactly.
Cancer genius.
But Brian, I think, tried to poke his head in there, and like you were saying about math, it's like you got on that highway and took an off ramp because it got weird. You didn't like it either,
Yeah.
for the same
Yeah,
reasons.
it gets like you think you like math, and they do shit like imaginary numbers, and you're like,
I'm out.
what?
I'm out.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm out.
I'm leaving. I get it. Totally get it. All right, well, go check that out on PC Magazine if you want to read more about it, because that's a weird story, and we like to have weird stories here on the show. Let's talk about our games that we're playing this week. Like I said, I've been playing a little Gloomhaven. I think it's way too early to say whether people should spend money on that or not. I'm going to just straight up say it. Unless you are completely devoted to that board game, that tabletop experience, and you want to be there on the ground floor and be there for the entire construction of this thing, then wait. If you're that guy I described, though, go for it, because it's there for you, and it's only $24. I've been playing more Mario Maker. Made a bunch of levels. Been playing other people's levels. That's what you do in Mario Maker, so I've been doing that. And like I said, Heroes of the Storm has taken up all my other gaming time. Just been back in, all in.
I did like that. You described exactly what Mario Maker was. This
Yeah.
is what you were doing it. Look, sometimes I'm playing other people's levels. Sometimes I'm making my own.
Yeah, that's the
Mario-
entire
Mario Maker.
2. Catch it. That's the entire game. Well, there's some single player, but it's very little compared to the rest of it. That game is crazy cool, and people are doing some wackadoo stuff. And I love finding creators that I can follow and love their stuff, and it's just great. So anyway, that game's great. John, it's all
Hello.
Final Fantasy all the time for John.
Pretty much. I got to level 50. I am up to doing my first raid or two, kind of closing out the initial story from the first game. And I am all in. That game really picks up steam near the end. The story gets really interesting. I have now started branching off into trying different jobs. So I hit level 50 as a Dragoon and then went and did a quest. And now I'm a level 50 Red Mage as well. And I can swap between the two of those whenever I want. And I'm like a level 5 Archer.
Oh, can you be as many things as you want?
Yeah, one character can be whatever jobs you want. And it's really neat because each job has a unique weapon assigned to it.
Yeah.
So all you have to do to switch jobs is just equip the weapon. And then just switches you over to that job. And you're good to go. And you get all the mechanics that come with it. And some of them you have to level up. Like Red Mage started at level 50, but the Archer class is starting at level 1 for me. But it's really neat. And I did one raid where it was just one boss encounter. There was no trash or anything like that.
Oh,
so
your
it's really hard to
favorite.
say how I felt about that, except I loved it because there was no trash.
Yeah.
And it took 10 seconds and then it was over. And so I do have one little complaint, though.
Okay.
This game does one thing that's really weird. So they've put cutscenes, kind of like what Star Wars The Old Republic did, in their dungeons and raids.
Okay.
And you can opt to skip it, but if somebody isn't skipping it, the party just has to wait for the person who's watching it.
Oh.
And it's not voiced or anything, so it's people clicking through and reading. And so I have learned the hard way, although people were very nice about, actually nobody said anything. I found this out on an outside source, that typically what you do to be polite for when a lot of people are waiting for you is you skip the cutscene, and then inside ends there is a little book that will let you review any cutscene.
Oh,
as
that's
if
cool.
You're right back in there,
Yeah.
without other people waiting. But in my opinion, just put that stuff before or after the actual thing. But I don't.
It is a weird thing. It's not voiced. None of that's it's just text and words.
Some of it's voiced, and then all of a sudden it's just jarring. Because that's the other thing is you look at it, and it's very Final Fantasy, it's very anime, but all the characters have really like thick British accents. Because I guess they were like, it's fantasy, it's British.
Yeah.
So like you watch this little like anime girl and guy come walking up to you, and you're like, oh, who are these people going to be? And you're expecting, Scott, what you feel is typical anime voice acting, we'll say. And then all of a sudden he's like, good day, lady. We must go. And you're like, oh, this isn't at all what I expected to come out of you.
Nobody goes, nobody says, all the time. Does that happen?
There's a lot of people saying we needs must in that game.
What?
And it
we needs
kind of
must defeat the Emperor.
Yes, there's a ton of we needs must, and it kind of makes my neck twinge a little bit every time I hear it. They're like, we needs must gather more forces before we move forward. And you're like, we needs must, I guess. We so excited. It's just
that feels like they screwed up in the translation department a little bit.
I'm sure it's fine.
Yeah.
I think it might be an authentic phrase, but I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyway, that game's great. I'm having a lot of fun with it.
Well done, Final Fantasy. You continue to be all the talk right now in the MMO circles. Everybody's talking about it, for good or for ill. Bo, Heroes, what else? What else you got?
Heroes, Magic, The Gathering, and Rocksmith 2014.
What?
I've been practicing guitar. It's not really a game. I mean, I put it on here because it's in Steam and it's listed as a game, and there's points and unlocks, and it has all the game systems, but it's really a guitar practicing tool. So, you know.
Do you find that's? I mean, you know real guitar and have for years and all of that. Do you? So when you play it, it feels like you're actually practicing.
So the way the system works is it has a dynamic learning tool, so you can take any song you like, and it'll only give you about 10% of the notes hit. And if you can't handle that, it won't crank up the difficulty. So you can know barely next to anything and still rock out to your favorite song. When you know how to play guitar, play a song perfectly, it's still just fun to play the song because the song plays along with you as you play. You do get feedback on if there's a solo. You know, I can never get solos perfect, so I always kind of like seeing it to see, just to practice improving it. And I get a lot of value out of it just for practicing anyways. So I used to do it every day for a couple hours, like 5 days a week. I had it in my schedule back when I didn't have a full-time job.
Yeah.
And I haven't touched it in a couple of years, and I just find that I need to practice, and it's a nice practice tool. And they're still releasing DLC for it. There's 2019 songs that are coming out. 2014 is a definitive edition.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to learn guitar and are willing to do, commit to 1 hour a day, 3 to 5 days a week, you will learn to play guitar using that thing.
That's awesome.
You will. It is I wish it was around when I started to play guitar.
Well, here's you. Here's a little bit of Bo. Very nice. That's the beginning of the Invincible intro from World of Warcraft.
Mm-hmm.
The game that John has turned his back on.
Don't say that. There's already enough talk of that.
Yeah, it
Got
happens.
a review for the WoW show the other day. One of the hosts doesn't even play this game.
Oh,
anymore.
I definitely get those. I get those once in a while because it'd be like, I'll just make one comment about ESO. Like, oh yeah, I've been playing ESO again. Traitor! Like they just start freaking out. We needs must kill you.
We needs must.
We needs must unsubscribe. Gets thou to the unsubscribe station.
I love it. All right. We're going to do an email. Do I have a thing for that? Yeah, I do. Remember?
That's a
Yeah.
good question.
There you go. Finally played it. I finally remembered to do it.
That felt right.
Yeah, it did.
It was a long time to get there, but that felt right.
It did.
All right, just want to clarify a question. Wicked Kitten asked: Does it needs must bass too in Rocksmith? Yes. You can profile yourself to be bass player, rhythm guitar, or lead guitar.
Oh,
3 different. Yeah,
that's great. But no other instruments. That's just guitar stuff, right?
It has singing. You can plug your mic in, and it'll give you a tuner, like a lot of those like Twitch sings and stuff that tells you if you're off pitch and stuff. So it does singing. And I don't know. I haven't checked for drums if that was added in or not.
Have either of you tried that Twitch Sings thing?
Yeah.
No, because I can't sing.
I can't either. But that was the
I
reason.
tried it.
Yeah. What'd you think?
I mean, these have existed before. Like, I want to say Rock Band, I think, had an audio thing where it just matches your tone to where you're singing. Like, if it's, if you're singing in A and it's B, it'll go like, meow. But except Twitch Sings doesn't do that because it's just about the memes. It's pretty stupid. When I got in there, it was all Disney songs and Garth Brooks tracks.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't want to sing any of this shit.
Yeah.
Like,
that goes together
uninstall.
like Disney songs and Garth Brooks.
Yeah.
I don't know what the song listing is like now. Also, yeah, there's just some weirdness to it because Twitch like doesn't. Okay, so I got the affiliate thing where it's like, what are they letting affiliates do? Private subs only.
Sub only streams, yeah.
And they're like, yo, Bo, we got subs only streams, and as an affiliate, you can use it, except you've got a violation on your account. And I'm like, why? Because I play YouTube videos and sing along with them at the start for the first 5 or 10 minutes. That's probably the violation.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so why would I go ahead and do Twitch Sings? Like, it's like, I just don't see that.
Yeah.
Why anyone would want to use that seriously on their streams in the first place.
I watched Kyle and Kristen do it one night, and Kristen has a good singing voice.
She can sing.
Yeah. Kyle, on the other hand. Just kidding, Kyle. You're great. We love you. All right, here's your email. This is an email from Jimmy, who went to the website at frogpants.com/core and left a message there. You can also leave us voicemails. We'll get to one of those in a second. 801-471-0462. Jimmy says, hey, Scott, Bo, and John, hearing you guys talk about a battle pass for Heroes of the Storm really got me thinking. Do you think that Blizzard did enough to save the game? Seeing as StarCraft 2 is still an esport and Blizzard even made a war chest to mitigate the losses, what would you have liked war chest type things? What you have liked? Would you have liked a war chest type thing for Heroes, or maybe a battle pass would have been a better idea? Longtime listener, love the show. Thanks, Jimmy. Here's the problem. I don't think that war chest thing worked out, did it? I don't hear anything about that anymore. That was like 2015. Is that still a thing?
Yeah, but nobody was really talking about freaking StarCraft 2 at the time either. It wasn't, it wasn't like it launched into the roaring popularity of StarCraft 2 and set the world on fire. It launched into a moderately popular with the people who already liked it StarCraft 2, and they got something out of it or they didn't.
Right. And their current
their
current esports thing is not a Blizzard official thing anyway, is it? I think it's isn't it some other league that does it?
I mean, it was for a while at the time that it came out.
I don't remember.
But I think my take on what Jimmy's asking here, I think that this isn't what killed Heroes. I think Heroes...
Nothing killed Heroes,
first of all, it's not dead.
Yeah.
But second of all, the thing that put it in the state that it is death by 1,000 cuts. There's a lot of things that happened. I don't think there's any one thing that was the thing. But I think a thing that came up a lot of times in the story of Heroes of the Storm is wrong time, bad timing.
Wrong time,
the
bad time.
initial launch of the game was too late. They waited too long. The 2.0 was a great idea, and it happened at a point right when people were just starting to turn on loot boxes and currencies and things like that. If that had been in the game from the get-go, and by the time we got to 2.0, that was, okay, well, we're gonna switch it around and we're gonna do something else, probably would have been a different story. But instead, they put in loot boxes, and I think the bigger mistake was they put in a bunch of currencies that made it seem like a mobile game. And it wasn't a month later, people were like, oh, it's just this weird free-to-play business. I don't like it. And it's kind of just always been that story. They went to BlizzCon, we're going to do all this stuff. Look at all this cool stuff that's coming. And then Blizzard kicks the legs right out from under them with these cuts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's like, it's okay. We're going to get up. We're going to dust ourselves off. We're going to do this again. And then immediately after that, oh, we're ending HGC. You know, like, it's just been bad timing across the board. And so I think that they did try. I just don't know if anything in there would have actually been enough to save it, because I just think they were always slightly off on their timing and their trends.
You know, that is no question. I mean, Bo and I were talking the other night that they could have a resurgence. They could see a long tail to this in the way that, say, Warframe or something else, you know, finds great success deep into its development. Like, all of these things are possible. It could really go places. And right now, like I keep saying, it's more fun than I've had in a long time, and it's easy to get into games, and it's just in a really good, it's in great shape right now. But if things are still active, and had they not just kind of had poor timing with 2.0 and loot boxes and the multiple currencies and all of that, I could see a battle pass working for Heroes of the Storm. At this stage, will they do one? I don't know. Maybe.
It depends on there's a big sea change happening at Blizzard right now.
Yeah.
And I think there's new products coming down the line. They have a ton of esports going on all at the same time. So I don't know if they just have to have a will to want to continue developing the game regardless of how it does in the public sphere.
All right.
Like, if it says we have this small audience and we want to do everything I can, we enjoy it, and those players who play it often will make the changes to the game that they want, like 10% move speed increase. There's no more pros now that can come around and crap on, things and say it's unbalanced and give them fits trying to please everybody.
Right.
They can just make a cool game. If they have to have the will for it. It's not just going to happen.
Right.
So we'll see.
Yeah.
They have an opportunity, I think. And then that's how these games, they grow in stature and reputation as they go on. There's an opportunity. I just don't know if it's in the cards.
Right. I agree.
I think we got a battle pass in Diablo 4.
You're probably right. Something like it.
I think my prediction, tinfoil hat, Illuminati.
Yeah. Oh,
I may have already done this one.
Hold on, I'm trying to find
it. Did they do this one?
I don't know. Hold on.
Diablo 4, free to play.
Diablo 4 free to play battle pass. You heard it here
battle
first.
Battle pass and cosmetics for sale and community created cosmetics that you can custom armors you can make in the game.
Damn.
Oh, and we're gonna get rid of loot
boxes.
Loot. No, loot.
Wait, what? Hold on.
That is insane.
That is insane. They don't get rid of loot.
There'll be drops, but they won't be piles of. You guys say this is okay. So, all right. Heroes refines MOBAs by getting rid of all the trashy activities in MOBAs, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna argue that's trashy activity.
There isn't anything more frustrating and stupid than picking up 5,000 whites, blues, and yellows for no reason in Diablo. And the proof is Nephilim Rifts. I will run a greater Nephilim Rift and not get a single drop except at the end when I get something useful, which is a lot like Warframe, by the way. Yeah. And so if I get a piece of crafting item that I can use to eventually maybe craft a random item or something like that, they need to make Diablo like, we realize you think Diablo is X, but we're making Z. And, I'm sure they'll get raked over the coals. It's Blizzard. Somebody's always got something bad to say about their games all the time. But I think they need to get rid of.
Okay. You know what? Now that I've heard you explain it, I'm going to tentatively agree a little bit with what you're saying. In Endgame, it's stupid to have a million blues and whites to pick up and yellows. It's dumb because none of them are going to be an upgrade. The only thing they're good for is burning them into...
In the main game, it's stupid too.
Well, fair enough, but...
Because I make everything at the crafters. I think drops is happy.
Right, but the stuff, the idea is, and again, it's by design, when that stuff drops, you take it back and you turn it into crafting material instead of the weapons that they are. You burn them into this crafting material. If what you're saying is, like if I went out on any kind of run in Diablo... and what exploded and blew out of chests and dead bodies was all gold and crafting materials and gems, that'd be great. Because I don't need all the blues and the yellows and the whites. You're right. And I do want that. I do want a legendary here and there. I want a epic legend or a ancient legendary, whatever they're called. I want those here and there. But I don't need a fountain of blues. I think
Path
maybe
of Exile also foregoes it as well because there's no currency in that game,
right.
and the stuff you get from picking everything up and hauling it back is a pittance. I've watched people stream it. You leave everything on the ground. You hover over it to see what the links and combos are. If it's junk, if it's a legendary drop, pick it up. If it's saleable, pick it up. Otherwise, just leave it. It's a waste of your time to do it. And I'm like, that's the direction Diablo needs to go.
If they
This
do,
this is the funny thing about Bo. He throws out an idea that is absolutely the most atrocious, ridiculous, awful, horrendous, horrific, abysmal idea that I've ever heard. And then you say, "Oh, okay, explain it a little bit." And then he starts to get you, and you get extra pissed because you know where that argument started, and you're like, he shouldn't have a point. He should have no point. No one should say something as wrong and incorrect as him and have any level of a point whatsoever.
Yeah.
But he does. But I will say, we've all very quickly forgotten that Bo didn't say we need to change up how loot works. He said there should be no loot, and that is still a wrong statement.
Oh, I'm getting lawyered. Objection!
Here's the thing, though. Like, it still needs to explode. Gold and parts and pieces still need to explode, and I need to be able to just run over them and have them suck up like a vacuum. I still need that feeling.
What you need are body parts and blood and visceral action.
Maybe.
And you'll get your
but
dopamine
I need the
hits.
lights too. I like the lights, the glittery lights.
Oh yeah. You'll still be going in there and hitting lights and hitting things and having I think the thing they did right with Diablo is making it the ability so cool.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Diablo 2, heads up guys, it's trash compared to Diablo 3. All you people like Diablo 2, it's super boring to use one ability. Diablo 3 is a laser light show.
Yeah.
It's an improvement on the formula. I'm sorry to break it to everybody.
I mean, I agree. I just wouldn't say it out loud because I don't want to be murdered in the street, but you're right. I agree with you.
You guys, it's so nice to be on a show where I'm not the one saying things that's going to get the angry emails.
Look, I like Diablo 2. It deserves a place in history. It's groundbreaking and amazing.
Yeah, I
but
agree.
To sit there and say that Diablo 3 did not has no redeeming value is just wrong.
No, people who say that they're up in the night. I don't care who they are.
Diablo 3 is a pleasure to play, and I look forward to them iterating on that further and making it even greater laser light show of insanity. So
yeah. If they keep doing that, I just want lots of gold on the ground so the numbers look crazy. I love that. I love it.
Need numbers. Path of Exile. What are you doing? No damage numbers.
Oh yeah, see what's the deal there? Why are they doing that?
It's basically one of the deal breakers for that game. There's just none. That's just it. That's the policy.
I mean, Sidian says D3's strength is how it plays, not remotely in its character or item systems. I disagree.
I think the characters could use less abilities, and they could have done more interesting things for sure. But everything looks cool as shit.
I love how that game plays.
Seven-sided strike and dash and whirlwind, everything looks amazing.
I mean,
the graphics are it's good.
You would agree with him on the itemization stuff because you've already said as much.
Well, items have sucked since day one in that game.
Right.
They're not. It's not interesting. Right. The decisions you have to make are not that interesting. I would say even on legendaries, it's pretty prescriptive, right? You use monk items on the monk, or the item is changed for you, rather than just make a system where items are just items and you decide how to mix and match, and any class can use any item.
Right.
It's that WoW problem too. It has that WoW problem of we got rid of sets because sets just mean you have to have set pieces, and there's not an interesting. You're not doing the science. The fun part of an action RPG is I've got 15 items. I can only wear 8. What science am I making with all the ability? That's a really fun aspect of the game, and they need to lean into that more and not worry. I think they really worried about making a balanced game because it was online and there'd be an auction house, and hopefully they just throw that out and be like, whatever, break the game.
Break it.
Yeah, items in legendaries, they seem cool, but really they're just mostly a means to an end. I got this item in the service of putting together a build that I want in theory, a way that I want to break the game that makes my character OP and feel great. It's not that I care about the item, it's that I need to complete these weird little puzzle pieces to create this overall whole that I'm ultimately
But Blizzard's already solved that. If you are doing an exploding palm build, you know what items you need to get, right?
Right. Yeah.
it's Blizzard already sort of anticipated a lot of the builds, rather than just throw a pile of random items out there. Maybe you figured out a cool combination that works for you, and that's kind of what's missing. It's like net decking, basically.
Can I make a confession, a Diablo confession? That's kind of embarrassing, but I think I'm okay saying it now.
Sure.
No, go for it.
All
It's
right.
a safe place.
In Diablo 2, I played 1 and I played 2, and I played the hell out of 3. In 2, for the longest time, I thought every item that dropped in the game, including every white, blue, purple, whatever, legendary, all of it, I thought they were being generated on the fly. And I don't just mean the numbers and stats, because that's true. When something drops, it may have a higher whatever. It's got other attributes. Like that stuff's being applied in a kind of a random way, an RNG kind of way. But I thought the names of the item, the way it looked, was more like the guns in Borderlands, where it was just
random names.
Random
like they just
soup.
pulled it from a word dictionary. Like
I really
you
did.
get, like,
And I cannot tell you how sad I was when I finally was told, or I found out, or I don't know what it was back in 2001. Somebody pointed out to me, it's like, no, these are all preset names. You're just getting statistical differences on them, and they're not.
right, of the other. If it has a dexterity mod, it's of the eagle. If it has a strength mod, it's of the bear.
Right.
Like you know, like it's not random that it's of the toilet. Like, oh, the word dictionary pulled the toilet out, which would be something people should do.
Right.
They should do this stuff.
I
Like,
agree. But it was like this sudden realization that, oh, there's a finite number. But in my fantasy head, it was like, it never ends. Just like the levels
Right.
themselves, they're random every time. You'll never play a dungeon the same layout ever. Same with the weapon. No, it's not true. There's just so
Tiles.
many weapon tile. Yeah. Like,
I think there was a time where I believed that as well. I
Yeah.
thought it was random everything.
I don't feel bad then. I mean, they want you to feel that way, certainly.
Yeah.
I think there's a point where there's diminishing returns. If everything's pure random, then what they make is garbage.
Yeah,
Like
that's
you go,
true.
You go in there and you get a sword with armor on it. Or so
Yeah.
you're like, oh shit. You know, like I think they have to put fences in smart places. But what
It's
I've
my
learned with
favorite country
Diablo-
song, by the way. My favorite 90s country song is they like to put fences in.
They like to put fences in smart places.
That's
all along the item drop
wow.
table.
Canadian country is not what I thought it was, but
Yeah, it's different.
Yeah.
It's new.
very strange.
Yeah. So
Anyway.
I don't know. I think for the meaningful end game stuff, but also the progression, I just think there's a lot of fodder in Diablo, and I just think they're struggling with it internally, which is why we heard about one version that got canned. I think they do need to take risks, and for a company like Blizzard, that's a hard thing because everything that makes it to market is always a success in some capacity. So I definitely understand that they're struggling with it.
I'm still convinced that Heroes is more popular than anyone thinks. It's just not popular enough for Blizzard to give it the metric of popular enough to give it its own esport still. And
They had a record year and a year they did layoffs, so they're thinking on a whole different plane
level
of existence.
Yep.
And so it's hard. Like as us as gamers, it's very simple to us what we want, what they should do. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I kind of had the thought today as we were starting the show. So I was thinking about Hearthstone. Like, do they use Unity for Overwatch?
No, it's their own engine.
It's just Hearthstone. I had
Yeah.
this thought, like Hearthstone's got to have a limited shelf span
What do you mean?
because
like
they pay Unity. Like that money you pay for packs, that money goes to Unity.
Well, if you
I was thinking about Epic, and I'm just like, if you license out, but Blizzard has their own engines for their games, like normally.
yeah, well, the reason they went
That's
with
money they're not keeping.
But my
for
understanding is they
Hearthstone.
went with Unity because it was so easy to port to mobile. Because
Right,
Unity's
and they
big
didn't
on
know if
mobile.
it was going to be a hit or just like a turd. Like it's
Right.
we're taking on Magic the Gathering. Like, like the fact that they succeeded, we could look at it and say it's obvious, but I'm sure to them it was not because they're fans of Magic and they also know what makes that game great, and that's an incumbent fan base that will not necessarily accept a product in that genre. So I could see them in making it a low investment kind of deal, right? We have a tool set.
Well, that, but I mean, it's got to be. My thinking at some point they made a decision and said, for us to license Unity for this game, which I don't think is actually that bad. Unity is pretty friendly to devs, but anyway, the price of licensing Unity in a continual, perpetual basis for that game has got to be cheaper than building your own engine from the ground up. I would think.
For a company that usually does it. That's why I was wondering about Overwatch, because their normal situation is they don't pay kind of licensing.
Well, right, but that was all Titan Tech.
I just had a thought like, oh, they would want to do a Hearthstone too, and it would be their own crap. And
right.
Unity.
I know that that may be true. Like if they go for a full sequel, yeah, I could see them doing that. But but look at them. They already bastardized their own stuff. Here's the Storm based on StarCraft 2. Warcraft 3 became World of Warcraft's engine. That engine is still tied in some ways to WC3. So
that's what I was wondering about. What Overwatch, like if that was the proprietary engine that was what Titan was being built on, and it was built on their own tech, and what isn't in that tech that still can be used for video games. Like I'm just very curious.
Yeah, I mean, I know
they were building a first-person shooter in the StarCraft universe.
Right. I wonder what that's based on, or if it's new.
They're not using Unreal. That's why I just wasn't sure if there was a partner for Overwatch 2, because that would lend more credence to an Overwatch 2 if they released it maybe in a different engine or something.
I mean, back in the day, I would say Blizzard probably doesn't care. They'll just do what they need to do to keep the game going. But in the world of modern Blizzard, where they go, we don't need community managers. And then months later, they go, we need community managers. Who knows?
When some of those community managers still don't have jobs from the last time they got laid off as a community manager. Gosh, dang it, Blizzard.
Right. There
Hire
may be
those
some
people.
calls that I wouldn't expect. So I think, again, Bo has some credence there. That's the kind of penny pinching I might see them actually do.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. They're weird sometimes that way. Here's a quick phone call. It's random. I don't know what it is. So 36 seconds of pure mystery. This could be the worst thing I ever click on. Okay, here goes. Let's see what it is.
Hey Scott. Hey Bo. Hey John. This is John calling, and I'm confirming that I was on the phone when I called last time. It was not in my lap. I had a gallon of I had a gallon of Gamer Girl water in my hand actually, and I was on my Bluetooth, so my car has that feature. On another note, you guys love Metroidvania games, and I'm super surprised none of you have tried Bloodstained the Bloodstained game, and you should, because it's awesome. Bye.
Okay. It's a lot to unpack there. First of all, that Bloodstained game, spiritual successor to Symphony of the Night. People really seem to like it. It's on everything, and I've heard nothing but decent things about it. I'm not that big of a fan of a Metroidvania style game, though. I don't know where you heard that. I mean, some of us, maybe all of us are a little bit in some way or another. But
I am.
Yeah.
It is right up my alley. I don't know why I haven't picked it up. I don't have a lot of money at the moment, so it's just
right.
I don't know.
You were talking about doing the replay of Super Metroid.
Oh, that's why, because I'm going to play Metroid on the.
I think we all like Metroid.
No, I love Metroid. I mean, that's the thing, is there's certain games. I guess I'm just not that. A freaking over the top anime treatment of another Metroid, of another Castlevania game just sounds bad to me.
Why, Scott? It's almost like you don't like anime.
I do like anime. It just
a
depends.
Theory that's been posited to you many times by me, which I think remains true to this day.
You think that it means I don't like any anime. The problem is I like very select anime, and I
think you like 1% of anime.
I think I like 5% of anime. 5.
Okay, well.
Marginally more anime than you think I like, but
I think, okay, so wait a minute. So when you see Castlevania, do you think is it the anime, or is it that you've got a lot of like that very fancy gothic style art? Because I also know, Scott, you hate the prim and proper. Yes, let's go to fight the Dracula.
I do hate that.
Like you hate that sort of thing.
I really do hate that sort of thing. Lots of frilly, fruffly, freaking stupid shirts and tailcoats and high top, shoes that are way too pointy and shit like that. I'm just not into it. And when they're just quaffing around, going, yes, If I'd only known what would be like, F you, just be normal and fight stuff. Like, I don't need this.
My name is Alucard.
Yeah, I hate that.
I'm going to welcome you into Castlevania.
It's so ridiculous. If it was
You're
based
like,
on...
no, I want to be a lady bounty hunter in armor that shoots.
Yeah, basically. If I want it, you know what I want? I want the Castlevania anime / TV or the cartoon they made on Netflix. More of that. That's what I would play. I'd play that.
I'm amazed you like that, because that does have that.
I loved that. I loved that thing. But yes, it had some of it, but someone was always destroying whoever was doing it. Like, it was always...
I think why you like it is they gave you... So let me guess. I bet you don't like Alucard that much in that show, but you do like... Is it Trevor Belmont?
Yes.
Whoever the Belmont
It's
is.
the Trevor.
You like
I think
him.
Trevor or Bill or whatever it is. I don't know what it is.
Bill Belmont. I bet you like Bill.
Yeah.
Because he's more of the just down in the muck. Like, he's just swearing and he's gross and he's always drunk and he's always calling people dipshits.
Yeah,
and,
he's not
he's
some
just...
prancy vampire man who's... And I know they're not... The Belmonts aren't always vampires, or they... that's not the main jam. But when they walk in just like with their best freaking court clothes on, like, F that. Just be gritty and cool and muddy and shitty.
I liked Alucard. He had a floating sword, like all cool characters do.
Stanley has one. Anyway, that's a thing. But to answer the part of his other call, we had just said his voice sounded terrible.
We buried the important part.
Yeah, the lead is you don't really... He didn't have girl gamer juice. He was just saying that. But his...
Gamer water, please.
Gamer water, sorry. Your what do you call it? Your Bluetooth headset phone car thing is bad. It's a bad one, is what I'm saying. It's not good. It sounds bad.
Well, I think what it was is I think he was the guy I said, were you driving when you called? Because as he was asking us a question, he did this move. He was like, got a question for the core guys. I wanted to know what your thoughts were. And I was like, he's driving while he's asking this question.
Oh, so, right. I forgot we talked
about that. I think that it was in response to that.
Right.
He wasn't driving. He was... fondling his gamer water.
Yeah, he had his water in his one hand.
Good boy gamer bathwater.
Right. A good
gallon.
boy.
So like $900 worth of this stuff.
Oh my gosh.
You only get a little bit. That's like $900.
Has anyone bought that and reported back, like actually purchased?
Yeah, there's an article. I drank gamer girl.
Shut up.
You're not supposed to drink it.
They drink
it?
I
mean, people are doing reaction videos, but there was like,
I
got a link here for on Spectator USA. Is that a reputable American press organization?
Never heard of it.
No.
I mean, I found a YouTube channel with the guy who says he. Okay, hold on.
I just feel like YouTube channels reaction videos are not.
But he drank.
Hey, dudes, what's up? Before I drink this bathwater, like, comment, and subscribe on my video.
Well, hold on. He's gonna drink it. Let's see what he does. He sips it. He's gonna gag. He gagged. All right, so that's the point. Is he just gagged? Nice job, guy. He gagged.
Yeah. Well, what did you expect? You're drinking bathwater.
Yeah.
Not only bathwater, but like, you know how you wash your hands in the bathroom, and actually some people don't even touch like handles and stuff because fecal matter is on them from touching.
Yeah.
She's bathing. She might not take a shit in it, but there are fecal particles in the asshole that are now in the water. And you were drinking shit.
Congratulations, you've made it to the end of Core. We've got a very special program for you here in the later parts of the show.
Like, I'm sure somebody could test the water and tell you how many parts per million of poo is in the water, and pee, and God knows what else, smegma.
The reason you're supposed to get bathed is to get all that off of you, not to drink it later, right?
Yes, bathwater's not for drinking. Let's just be universally clear. It doesn't matter how many gamer girls you put in it, you're not supposed to drink it.
Right.
At all.
I
Even
agree.
if the number's 0. It's not drinkable water. You go to a different place for that.
I feel like I didn't need Bo's explicit description of why, but I think you really hammered it home. So nice job.
Well, and listen, everyone within the sound of my voice, when you wash your hands when you use the bathroom.
Yeah.
For the exact same, it's common sense stuff. That's why we don't drink bath water. It's like rubbing your face on a public toilet. Yeah, I'll just say the sentence there.
Well, Wicked
Just taking the
Kitten.
toilet scene going.
Ew, jeez.
then, like there's no poo in it. I'm like, doesn't matter. Don't do that.
Yeah, don't do it. Wicked Kitten says it's not real bathwater. I thought it was determined that it was her bathwater. How does she know? How do you know that?
How does anybody know?
Right.
What does it matter if it's real bathwater or not?
It's like it's like numbers. Whether it's a real number or imaginary number, it's still a number.
Well, I think I suddenly understand invisible math or whatever the hell it's called.
I think I do too now. Actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I got it.
We haven't considered the gamer girl bathwater principle of mathematics.
And I'm, look, I don't want to shame anybody for their weird kink, but if you're gonna blow bubbles in my toilet, warn me or something.
Oh my god!
Wait, okay.
I don't want to know. I mean, I do want to know.
I've made a new breed of nightmare for Scott.
I mean, look, we need people like Bo to ask the hard hitting questions like that. He is the first person. He's the first person I knew who ever posited the question, wait a minute, if the Venom symbiote's all around Spider-Man, doesn't that mean it's also up his butt crack?
I don't remember that. That's great.
And so there would be poo on the Venom symbiote. And then when the Venom's... So here, Scott, listen to this. When the Venom symbiote retracts, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't retract in the exact same place.
No.
So imagine a scenario where some of the symbiote's up my butt. Getting feet, it's getting a little greasy. I'm webbing around. Maybe a little poop fart comes out and it's dirty down there.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
It retracts.
Yeah.
And I do my Eddie Brock thing, and then I'm like, oh shit, I need to recover. How do I know what part is on my mouth? Like, it's not necessarily the same part that's in the butt that's now in my mouth or in my nose.
I'll never think of him the same. Not you. I mean, the character of
Spider-Man
Venom
separated from the Venom symbiote because it was worried it was taking him over.
Right.
Bo would separate because he was worried that the butt part was now where his face would be.
But over the course of years, like think about how, because you don't put it in the laundry, the symbiote just eventually will be completely covered in fecal matter. So I've been Venom for 2 years. Different parts have been dabbed in my sweaty butthole for 2 years.
Yeah.
Eventually, it's getting in my mouth.
It's like, you know what it's like? It's like mashed potatoes, and you put a little rat turd in the mashed potatoes, and for a moment, the rat turd is just up in the corner there and easily removable. But the minute you turn on the blender, now it's everywhere, all through it. Yeah, Bo's right. You're right. If Venom...
there's that scene in the Venom movie where he makes
John.
out with Venom. So, that's a whole other thing.
Oh, really?
Thanks, John, by the way, for reminding me of that. I'm glad I made that kind of impression.
I can't... Look, I love Spider-Man. I think the symbiote is cool. I think Venom's great. And Bo has permanently put that thought in my head every time because Spider-Man always wears this skin-tight suit. So there he is wearing the Venom suit. Yeah. And I just see the butt. And I'm like, well, it's up there.
How many parts per million of fecal matter are in the Venom symbiote? That's what
I don't go that deep with the thought. I just am aware of its existence there, that there's a living organism hanging out in that crack.
Don't tell Tom Hardy. He may never play Venom again if you tell him.
You mean... Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he plays Venom.
Yeah, he might not.
You think he cleans his butt?
He made out with Venom. They made out in that movie.
He seems clean normally when I see him in interviews, but you never know. You never know with people what they really are,
No, you don't.
I feel like Bo would ask Tom Hardy this question and get him to quit acting by doing so.
I think Tom Hardy doesn't give 2 squats about anything.
He might give 2 squats, but that's part of the problem. Anyway, hey, there you go. There's your email and your phone call.
I like to just Crimson Neon says the greatest conversation I've ever heard on a podcast. And
oh wow! Well then, that's high praise. Thank you. We appreciate you being here, and I'm glad you witnessed it live. Everyone at home, we apologize profusely for what has transacted. If you'd like to leave us an email or a voicemail that we can riff on in such ways, please do. 801-471-0462 is the number, or you can leave a voice or email rather over at frogpants.com/core. There's a link. You hit it, and boom, you send us a contact. That is easy. I think it's going to do it for the show. Are we missing anything? No, we've said all we can say except for the web stuff. Let's do that. How about this? Hey, do you know how we pay for the show? Here's how we do it. You guys go on over to patreon.com/ what's this show? Core. No.
Well,
I don't blame you for forgetting.
My thing. Hold on.
They've been calling it fecal core.
Okay, I'm
We're
back.
at fecal core now.
We're at Core Show. Sorry. Patreon.com/Core Show. It's right there on the page. Why am I not reading it? Patreon.com/Core Show. And why wouldn't you? This is such great nonsense. Why wouldn't you want to go over there? Also, what else? You can find us on the...
Core, I was a fan of your show back when you talked about Heroes of the Storm.
So you sound like
then you decided to talk about video games.
Uh-huh.
But I will no longer be listening past the email segment where you feel it is acceptable to write about fecal matter.
You sound like a Castlevania villain now, and I don't like it. Hey, here's another one of those guys.
Can you smell it?
That's totally one of those guys, too.
That's what the symbiote's saying telepathically.
Yep.
To Eddie Brock.
That's right.
Eddie.
Can you smell it, Eddie? Can you smell it, buddy?
Like, smell my appendage.
All right. That's all. What else? Frogpants.com/core is our website. CorePod, John_Jagger, Scott Johnson, and Bo Schwartz on Twitter. That's going to do it for us. Thank you all for listening. We'll be back next week with a whole nother show. Until then, take care of each other. Goodbye. This show is part of the Frog Pants Network.
Frog Pants Network.
Get more shows like this at frogpants.com. We did it.
Sorry about that.
Don't be sorry. That was
Hey,
awesome.
look, you know what? We made it. They made it that far. That's their reward.
This
I
is
think I'm on a